Welcome to Fill the Glass, episode 13. I'm Kerry Millsap. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a brain hack that has helped me in a number of ways, and hopefully it'll help you do some marvelous things as well. I'm going to tell you how I learned it. Back in the 1990s, I worked at Oracle Corporation, as many of you know. And one of the things that I got to do occasionally is have a little fun with my team. One of the exercises that the company encouraged us to take part in is a so-called ropes course. And I don't remember where we did this. I think it was somewhere outside of Pittsburgh. But a ropes course is a place where you do various things up in trees that are scary. They're safe, but they're scary. You start off doing things on the ground like trust falls. You're standing there and you fall backwards into the arms of one of your teammates, and you have to trust your teammate to catch you before you split your head open on the ground. And this gradually would progress into more risky things like these folks are doing, where you can't really do something without one of your teammates' help, and you're up there suspended. You feel like you're going to die if you fall, but of course, you probably see the rope here. This person's actually roped to a pulley, and at the other end of this rope is one or two teammates who are responsible for keeping you from hitting the ground. So you really have to trust each other in order to play these games. Well, one of the games that we played was not a risky thing. It was just a little game. It was a ball game. And I don't remember if it was a lacrosse ball like this one or if it was a tennis ball or a softball or something, but it was a ball that our coach was a park ranger, kind of olive drab shorts and shirt with a hat, with one side tied up. And she was the coach for our sub team. I had about 20 people working for me at the time. And I think we divvied up into probably 4 teams of 5 people each or something like that. And each of the teams got the same ball game. And the ball game's rules are shown here. Everybody has to touch the ball once and only once. The ball has to move, not the people. So in other words, you couldn't set the ball in the middle of a table or a park bench and have everybody touch it. And then the fastest team to accomplish these constraints wins. And of course, your teammates are in other groups and you're competing against those other groups. So the coach left us and we kind of stood there and we thought, okay, let's figure out how we're going to do this. First of all, I guess we are to throw the ball to each other because the ball has to move, not the people. So we need to make sure that we're really focused on catching the ball. Some people may not be comfortable catching the ball more than 3 or 4 or 5 feet away from somebody else. So we probably ought to be like in a fairly tight circle and throw the ball to somebody. And we need to really focus on not dropping, because if you drop the ball, that's going to be a huge time penalty. And so we optimized as much as we could. We even thought, okay, whenever you catch the ball, the last thing we want is for that person to have to calculate, okay, now where am I supposed to throw? Who hasn't touched the ball yet? Because you're supposed to touch the ball once and only once, not twice, not 0 times. So we needed to make sure that we had some kind of an algorithm that we could use for not skipping anybody and not getting the ball in anybody's hands a second time. So we did all that, and it probably took us 10 or 15 minutes. We practiced a couple times with the stopwatch that the coach had left us. And she eventually came back and asked us how we're doing as a team. And we said, yeah, I think we're doing pretty well. We've gotten it down to where we're right around 5 seconds, getting the ball. She goes, oh, show me, and we're like, okay, you threw the ball over there. And then that person threw the ball to somebody else, and then somebody else, and somebody else, somebody else. And about 5 seconds later on her watch, we're done. And she's like, oh, y'all have done great. That's a good job. And so we kind of celebrated for a minute. We're sort of proud of ourselves. And then she leaned in and she said, but let me tell you this. The camp record for this event is half a second. We were like, half a second? No way. How in the world could anybody do it in half a second? But our brains just sort of locked onto, okay, if you can do it in half a second, then let's figure out how to do it in half a second. And somebody suggested, hey, I know, we could configure our hands so that one person sticks in their hand here, another person sticks in their hand here, Another person sticks their hand here, and then we roll the ball down the ramp of hands. And we're like, does that fit the rules? We'll see. Everybody touches the ball once and only once. Yeah. The ball has to move, not the people. Yeah. Fastest team wins. Yeah, we could get our timing down to like sub-second if we do that. And then somebody else helpfully suggested that if we don't lay our hands next to each other, if we kind of lay our hands on top of each other, kind of like I have these books stacked. If a book represents the blade of your hand, then the ball could just roll, touch. Less than half a second later, the ball's touched everybody. The ball moved, not the people. And we've got world record time compared to 5 seconds. So I don't know why that was so fascinating to me, but it really did stick with me. And I've used that tool. I don't even remember if that's really the lesson we were supposed to have learned, but it certainly was a good example of a lesson that we use now in Method Art quite a bit. And it looks like this. Jeff might come in and say, hey, I got that 10-minute thing to run in just 10 seconds. And we celebrate. That's great that we made something, what is that? That's 60 times faster. That's awesome. But then we do the exercise, and he and I both know this trick by now. And we say to ourselves or to each other, what if I told you that someone else did it in half a second? See, that's the crazy thing about this. It doesn't even have to be true. You just have to ask the question. You have to imagine. You have to suspend disbelief and go, whoa, there's no way somebody could do the thing I'm doing now in 10 seconds in half a second. And we go, no way. And then we say, well, okay, I guess if we estimated instead of coming up with the precise right answer, and then we do some analysis like, well, is an estimate in half a second better than having the absolute perfect answer in 10 seconds? And the answer may well be, yeah, an estimate's plenty. And 10 seconds is kind of a break in the stream of thought that half a second doesn't break your attention span, doesn't break your stream of thought. So maybe estimating instead of, and this is just one example. Another one, just thinking about user interfaces. We did this actually. We took something from 6 clicks to 2, and I was like, whoa, that's great. That's less stuff that the user has to do, less stuff the user has to think about and then perform with his or her hands. But then we'll ask the question, well, what if I told you somebody else did it in 0 clicks? 0 clicks? What in the world would that even mean? Well, if the user needs to do this and that, and then our thing naturally follows this thing that they already do, then let's automatically do our thing right there without asking them the question, do you want to do this? Or, giving them the option of, do you want to do this? If there's no option, there's no need for a click. So sometimes we'll do the thing on the right and we'll come up with, well, I can't get it done in half a second, but maybe 2 seconds. Well, we've still done a great thing by going through the exercise. Maybe I can't get this thing to work in 0 clicks, maybe just 1 click, but still that's a great advancement towards the goal. So again, the bizarre thing is it doesn't even have to be true. It just has to be something that you're willing. It's a game that you have to be willing to play. And if you are, sometimes amazing things come out of it. Well, thanks for joining. I appreciate you watching the show today. Those of you on YouTube who are watching this, Fill the Glass is a weekly little conversation that I have with some folks that sign in on Tuesday mornings at 10:30 Central U.S. time. If you're interested in that and more news about Method Art Corporation, just visit us at methodart.com/subscribe. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.